it's psychology and marketing. They're like conjoined twins. You're not going to be successful in marketing, or at least let's put it this way: you're not going to be optimally successful in marketing if you don't follow some of these basic psychological laws. Not the kind of laws that get you locked up, but the kind of laws where these are like foundational things that are set down by social institutions. Now, most people, the fact that marketing and psychology is like a secret, because people don't want to, Facebook and Procter and Gamble, they don't want to go out here and tell people that, we kind of dabbling in mind control and got you leading you around like a lemon off a cliff. So that's kind of like kept to a secret for the most part. People aren't going to go out here and scream that from the mountaintop, that you're under the guise, you're under the influence of some psychologist. But hey, it is what it is. Now, most of us, we're not totally void of an understanding of some type of psychology in marketing. We all know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've heard it. We might not understand what it is. When they talk about these different levels, we talk about the physiological, the safety, the love, esteem, and self-actualization. So most of us got our toe in the water with the psychology through Maslow. Then even myself, one of my linchpins, one of my signature secret sauces of marketing has been the reasons people buy, which are emotional and psychological reasons. Financial, pleasure, security, physical, and social proof. Once again, it's psychology, ladies and gentlemen. People dress it up any way they want to, but it boils down to psychology. So what I'm going to do is give you like a little 101 on how psychology manifests itself in marketing. Let's start out with some rules of the mind. I should put on my white coat this morning, but I'm going to spare you. I have a white coat over there. I studied psychotherapy a few years ago, and I actually have some letters behind my name. I'm not even going to bring it up because then I look like I'm a jack of all trades. I'm not going there. Okay. Here's some rules of the mind. What one expects to happen has a strong tendency to take place. The stronger the expectancy, the better chance of its outcome. That's one of those rules of the mind. I want you to accumulate these now and then sit on them for a minute. Imagination is more powerful than knowledge. When the two are in conflict, imagination wins. And it's going to explain some of these ads you see. Things that don't make sense to you. So why in the world are they doing that? That doesn't make me want to go out and buy something. You see that guy code? You got the guy scooping ice cream and you say, wait a minute. What that got to do with insurance? You keep listening and I'm going to tie it all together for you. Once the inner mind accepts an idea, it remains until replaced by another idea. These are rules of the mind, ladies and gentlemen. Once a suggestion is acted upon, it's easier for the next one to be accepted. Rules of the mind. These aren't Robert Gatewood's rules. These are rules of the mind. They teach you in psychology. And here's one. Opposing thoughts cannot be held simultaneously. You have to take one or the other. All right, now, let me give you a little bit more. I'm going to make you put on your student caps today. Good morning, Brother Emmanuel. Here are some types of suggestion that you are being bombarded with on a daily basis that you may or may not be aware of. The first one is called unconscious suggestion. That's suggestions you're not even aware of. You could be getting this suggestion while you sleep. You ever left your TV on at night? You have Martin playing in the background. You wake up in the morning, wake up! That's called an unconscious suggestion. You didn't even know it. You were being bombarded. I mean, it's not always as dramatic as that at Martin, but my goodness, man, you were watching that Purge while you went to sleep. The next one that we're probably more familiar with is called direct suggestion. It's straight to the point. There's no innuendo, no metaphor, no inference. It's straight to you, okay? Then there's the indirect. And this is something I think I did a whole sermon on that I think it was last week or the week before. We talked about indirect and communication type of advertising, where you are using a more subtle approach to get the message across. You're not being direct about it. Like if I want you to buy something, I may talk about everything associated with it without doing an actual call to action. That's a type of suggestion. And when you're making a buying decision, in most cases, you're under the influence of one of these types of suggestion. Then there's heterosuggestion. Hetero just simply means other. It came from somewhere else. Somebody could have told you about it, okay? There's emotional suggestion. Boy, this is where the marketers have made their mark. I told you about some of my 5 reasons people buy. One of the big ones, I said they're all emotional. Buying is an emotional decision, whether you realize it or not. And then, of course, another type of suggestion is social. That's where you're actually being influenced by others. Okay, now we've talked about the rules of the mind. We've talked about the types of suggestion. Now, let's talk about some of the laws of suggestion that manifest themselves in marketing. And you won't even know you're under the influence of these laws in most cases. The first one is called the law of dominant effect. We talked about fear versus logic, imagination versus facts. Fear is the dominant effect. It will trump logic every time. Okay? Because marketers use this all the time. Something bad is going to happen to you if you don't take action A versus action B. That's called the law of dominant effect because fear is a dominant emotion. Another one that we're under constant bombardment is called the law of concentrated attention. Now, anybody in advertising understand this. We call this frequency. When you get something over and over and over, and all the marketers will tell you, you got to run an ad a certain number of times because they're implying, they're implementing, they're using this law called the law of concentrated attention. Another one is called the law of delayed effect. Once again, this goes back to that indirect advertising. You're giving information. You're given all of the reasons you should do something without actually asking you to do it. All it needs after that is a trigger. That's called the law of delayed effect. And then, of course, the law of association, where you associate something with something else to get your desired result. You may see that doing things like endorsements. These are all rules of the mind, ladies and gentlemen. Some of the games that marketers play on consumers. Now, when I say games, does that mean that you shouldn't use them? Well, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you apply these, I want you to take this disclaimer. Use carefully because it's like a loaded gun. You take a good marketer, man, they can take all your money. If you don't understand some of these things. That's why it pays to deal with somebody who has a track record, who has ethics. And it's easy to look up. Just because somebody's giving you a slick talk, convincing you to do something, doesn't mean you need to do it because they look shiny. They got a nice suit on. Because they could be one of those slick marketers that has studied this psychology, taking you to the cleaners. Now we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to give you some what we call, finally, principles of human behavior. Folks, we're getting deep today. I know people like to get on here and say, look, man, what should I put on my Facebook ad? What should I put on my website? What this business card should I have on it? This flyer. if you're not using these marketing techniques that are based and grounded in psychology, you're not going to get the same desired effect. Big companies know this. They do it all the time. As a matter of fact, many people who graduated, it's a little fact you didn't know, many people who graduated with a degree in psychology, they are recruited by major corporations. I know some. Procter & Gamble, Facebook, Google, they understand this. And Robert Gatewood is trying to open your eyes up this morning so that you understand it too. All right, let's wrap this up. Here's some human behaviors that manifest themselves in marketing. First one is reciprocity. Reciprocity is pretty simple. All right. I give you something, now you feel obligated to give me something in return. Why do you think people giving you these cups? I'll give you a cup in a minute. These cups cost me about $3 when I buy a whole stack of them. I give you a cup, I give you this pen. The law of reciprocity says, man, that's a nice guy. Let me send him a $3,000, a $5,000 retainer. It doesn't quite work that simply, but reciprocity, that is the concept. Another one, which is one of my most, I guess, signature items, is social proof. It's the Me Too effect. If I see somebody else doing it, it's much more likely that I'm going to do it too. Bandwagon effect, desire to belong, consensus, lemons off a cliff, follow the leader, keep up with the Joneses. It all falls under social proof. It's a psychological phenomenon. If you watch somebody smoke cigarettes, there's about a 99% chance they succumb to social proof. And there was a reason to do it. That's what I did when I used to smoke. Can you believe that? I was like, what's up, dog? Nothing, that's a different kind of cigarette. But I didn't want to smoke. I had older brothers who smoked, friends who smoked. We go out and drink, get together. Everybody around you smoking, you smoke too. That's called social proof. It's a psychological phenomenon of human behavior. Another one is called scarcity. In a world of unlimited needs, but a finite amount of resources, we are wired to react when we feel like there's not enough to go around. That's why marketers use this while they last. We got one more going out of business sale. May not be enough tomorrow. That's called scarcity. And it's playing on this principle of human behavior. Now, have you ever been driving down the street after you bought a car? You might have bought yourself a Tesla or a Kia, Ford Explorer, whatever. And it seems like now every time you turn around, you see another one. That's not just you. That's, once again, that is a principle of human behavior. It's actually called the frequency illusion, also known as the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. Now, it plays on two things. It plays on what we call selective attention. When you are introduced to a new thing, a new something, for the first time, now you are more prone to notice it. And the other one is called confirmation bias. That means that you are reassured now that because you see it more times now, that it must be proliferating throughout society. You're convincing yourself that it must be everywhere. So no, it wasn't just your imagination. When you saw that car, you bought that new car, now you see them everywhere. That's a human behavior. It's called frequency illusion. Another very popular one is called loss aversion, that's employed by marketers often. That simply means once you get something, you don't want to give it up, especially if it's something you like. And what marketers have done with this one this is very interesting. And I have some issues with this in some cases when it's abused, is that they give you something free. You get hooked on it, and then the price goes up. It's no longer free, or it would have been almost free. That's why you get these trial offers. Now, most of the time you get a warning or you get a notice. Okay, it's free for a month or it's free for a year. You get at least a notification. But some of these companies, they don't give you that notification. It's free. And they might wait sometime 4 or 5 years down the road because it was part of their master plan. They studied this process called loss aversion. And then they say, oh, well, we hate to inform you, but that account you have now is no longer free. It's going to cost you $14.95 a month, because they understand this human phenomenon called loss aversion. People hate to lose something that they have, particularly something they've gotten comfortable with. And the last one we're going to talk about today is called anchoring. Anchoring simply means that when you are introduced to something, let's just say this suit. I saw this suit online and it was $199. My brain anchored on that. I didn't only anchor on the fact that this suit may have been $199 or $5.99, but my anchor says that a good suit of clothes is going to cost me somewhere between $200 and $500. Then I come along later on and I see a suit for $99. My anchor, this human phenomenon called anchoring, tells me that's a good deal. Now, if I had never seen a suit for $500, anchoring would not have worked. But the fact that your brain locks in, it anchors. And that's another very effective tactic used by marketers. Now, folks, let me tell you something. I'm not trying to make you a psychologist today. I'm not a psychologist. I just happen to be a marketer who studied psychology in all of my years of college. I mean, from the minute I understood how potent it was, I made it part of my curriculum. And the minute I realized how closely aligned it was with marketing, I have used it in my marketing strategy and plans.